Higher prices are still stalking Americans, but there's progress. The Consumer Price Index rose 0.2% in July. For the year ending in July, the CPI nudged under 3% for the first time since March of 2021. The core annual reading, excluding food and energy, was up 3.2%, also the tamest inflation in 3 years.
I know that there's some subtlety to the report, the details, the fact that there's still a lot of pain out there for consumers, and the market's trying to sort that out. But the headline number is pretty darn good.
But prices at the store are still going up, just not as fast, and Americans are still feeling it.
I feel like everything that you purchase at the store now has gone up substantially.
The Labor Department just released their inflation numbers for July. The Consumer Price Index rose 0.2% last month, in line with expectations, actually a little better than expectations. That pushed the inflation rate down to 2.9%. And Willie, that's the first time the inflation rate has been below 3% since 2021. The Wall Street Journal reporting and breaking news that it pretty much seals the deal when it comes to a rate cut, an interest rate cut, when the Fed meets September 17th and 18th.
2.9% inflation year over year. As you said, that's the lowest since March of 2021. Prices are down, importantly, for food. Those have been nagging people at grocery stores for years now, and energy still higher than anyone would like them to be, but they're headed in the right direction. This is great news. Take politics out of it. This is great news for the country. This is great news for people who need to go out and buy things for their families.
Now, you would think that these reports came from different countries, but that's just Fox and MSNBC. Both are reporting the same numbers, but have completely different outlooks as to what the numbers really mean. Now, as a consumer, you and I are aware of the actual numbers whenever we go out and buy groceries, right? Either that or whenever we're paying our monthly bills. But left-leaning analysts are already selling this as a win for the Harris campaign somehow. But it looks like they're forgetting a huge factor that's linked to our economy, and that's debt. They're also forgetting about what real Americans and businesses are going through at this very moment.
$1.29 trillion in credit card debt. You know that last month was the most ever that people did not make a payment on time in the United States history. Now, you don't hear this. Why don't we hear this news? Why don't we hear this news in this time of year? In this particular year. There you go. Nobody wants to be talking about we've got the most credit card non-payment debt in the United States history.
How hard has inflation hit you?
It hit me hard. It's hitting me hard.
What do you blame for it?
I blame the federal government at this point. If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. If you understand that. They're killing us without telling us they're killing us. They're hurting people in ways that they can't help themselves. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children and I don't eat, but I have to go work.
Who feels as if black voters are taken for granted, i.e. they make you promises and they don't deliver? What do you care about most right now?
What are they going to do for my people that lives in the communities where I am from?
I don't know where the government comes up with this 3.5% inflation number, but it's BS. We're out here in the real world. My name's Brian Will. I own 4 restaurants. I can tell you that in February, chicken breast was $1.64 a pound. Now it's $2.22 a pound. That's a 27% increase. Ground beef was $3.87 a pound. Now it's $4.45 a pound. 13% increase. Cheese is up 11%. Ribeye up 25%. Avocados up 50%. These are core staple items in a restaurant. And our average inflation-induced increase is over 20% just in the last 6 months. I would love it if it was only 3.5%, but that's just not real world. So do we raise our prices? Do we cut employees? Do we cut critical services? What are businesses supposed to do in this nonsense 3.5% inflation environment? It's just not real.
And this isn't surprising to hear, right, guys? There are many households across the country that share the exact same sentiment. It's also very clear that there are news outlets that are trying to put out a positive narrative for this year's elections. Because as you guys noticed, many of us in the real world, we have a completely different take regarding the CPI numbers that have just come out. Although I'm pretty sure that all of you guys have your own outlook when it comes to inflation and how high prices still are, especially those that owe thousands upon thousands of dollars on their credit cards. And that's not being reported, is it?
Young Americans are drowning in credit card debt. New data from TransUnion found the average credit card balance for 22 to 24-year-olds was $2,834 in 2023. That's 26% more than millennials carried at the same age. The Wall Street Journal, who first reported on the data, said, quote, "The rising debt load largely reflects a surge in prices for food and shelter at the start of their careers, coupled with a larger percentage of Gen Z who graduated with student loans. Plus, the average U.S. median rent has gone up nearly 22% over the past 4 years, coming in at a whopping $1,987. Meanwhile, the median annual wage for recent college grads in 2023 was $60,000, only slightly above the 2022 average of $58,000. This comes at a moment when the economy is front and center as the 2024 election approaches.
And hey guys, before we go any further, please take a second, hit the like button for the video. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and for sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. And the expectation is that the federal government will cut rates right before the 2024 presidential election. This will prop up the economy just long enough until they can elect Harris or put her in as president. The problem is that inflation is still way too hot. The trend is going down, but a lot of economists feel as if it's not enough to warrant a rate cut. But of course, optimism is high within different officials. Atlanta Federal Reserve President Raphael Bostic says that he's open to a rate cut as early as September. But that opens up the huge possibility that they lose control over inflation and we all go back to square one. But it explains why more and more Americans trust Donald Trump with the economy as they remember his term fondly when it comes to their finances.
Under Kamala Harris and crooked Joe Biden, the American dream is dead. You don't hear about the American dream anymore. It's dead. Her radical liberal policies have caused horrific inflation, decimated the middle class, and gutted the finances of millions and millions of American families. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Go. Get out of here.
Harris, for her part, also plans to deliver a speech on her economic plan on Friday. That is also scheduled to take place in North Carolina, a crucial state. All of this will mark her first major policy announcement since becoming the Democratic nominee. She's behind Trump when it comes to who voters trust on the economy. A new Associated Press NORC poll out today shows Americans are slightly more likely to trust Trump to handle that issue, 45 to 38% versus Harris.
What do you guys think? Are you in favor of keeping the economic policies of the Biden-Harris administration in place, or are you guys leaning toward going back to Donald Trump's financial fiscal policies? Now, if you ask me, it looks like Kamala Harris wants to emulate whatever Donald Trump did. This is because she's now selling Donald Trump's policies to the American people, and she's acting as if she was the one that thought them up. I know, I can't make this stuff up, guys. Now, I covered this in a previous video that I urge you guys to watch and check out because it exposes their plan for this upcoming election, all right? As always, thanks so much for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and for sharing this video. I'll see you guys on the next one.